Welcome to Get Out of Your Own Way. And whatever you need to do to get yourself comfortable, please do. Maybe there's a candle lit or some smudge. I just did some essential oils because it puts me in that space, or movement. And particularly during this intro, feel free to get up and stretch. Like if there's no requirement to have your face there. Like if you disappear, I'll assume you're taking care of yourself. So isn't that what this is all about, right? And, along with taking care of yourself is if there's part of this practice that you don't relate to, then just do the parts that fit for you and make it your own. Because the whole point of this is to help you listen more to your insides and let go of the trying and let go of following instructions or rules from everybody else. So my hope is that you make this yours. When stuff comes up, like a lot of times people think that, well, if I'm not hearing clear messages that I'm doing it wrong or it's not working. And I remember lots of times doing practices where I thought my mind was distracted or I was doing it wrong. But then in hindsight, it'll be like, oh, that was part of the answer. Or, oh, I was showing myself what gets in the way, right? Or oh, that vulnerable part, or that part of self that I've been ignoring was sitting right there doing its thing. And I had an opportunity to connect with it, but I was too busy doing the thing I thought I was supposed to right now. So I just invite you to let go and let whatever your experience is, and not try to figure it out. Okay, so the less you try, probably the better it's going to go. It's get out of your own way and shift really the thoughts, the energy patterns, the habits. It's all stuff from early on. And for most people, it's before 7 years old, right? Because that's when we're the most observant. We're just absorbing. It's not like our family is saying, there's no room for you to show up, or we expect you to be a good boy or good girl. But it's being modeled in how we're watching other people, but also how we're being treated. And then we learn to put our energy out there and make sure, we've attended to everything we're supposed to. I think of us being on puppet strings, like all sorts of different strings are different poles. At school, you're supposed to act a certain way, or in the neighborhood or with your siblings. We start to get these automatic programs and we just roll with it. We don't know any better or any different. So it's not about trying to annihilate those parts of self. Those are really the parts of self that need the most growing up, the most transforming. And this is one of the practices that can help transform that. It's like consciously evolving them instead of trying to beat them into submission. As a matter of fact, I found a quote. Where is it? There. Oh, we cannot shame ourselves into change. We can only love ourselves into evolution. Which I love that. Dr. James Rouse. So when we are able to grow these parts up, they're not so much of a distraction to us. It's like it's going to be our primary place we put our energy because it's survival mode. And survival could be that you got beat as a kid, but it can also be more subtle. Like you're just supposed to roll with everybody, or we're positive, we don't talk about emotions, or we're all high achievers, we don't feel, you're too sensitive. So in that way, not being able to honor yourself. So when we can clear these old habits and patterns, then it makes space for, like, then who am I? And so many people that I work with, it's when we do the clearing, whether it's EMDR or practices like this, then they start to feel like a loser or a failure or somehow, not interesting. But it's because they didn't get to learn their interests. There wasn't anybody saying, wow, you seem really excited about that, or that really bothers you. And then helping you understand, like, that's because, you're a really loyal person and it's hard for you to understand why other people wouldn't be kind. And so that opens up this whole phase of who am I? And once we start to discover that, well, then we need to make more elbow room for who we are. And that's where the boundaries come in. And so in about 2 more weeks, I'll have a boundaries course that I'm releasing. And really that comes from my own experience and just watching how people evolve that, we clear out the old and then some of it automatically comes online. There's enough space and people are just able to step into who they are. But then oftentimes there comes this phase of, okay, but the family still expects me to, fill in the blank. I'm the one who volunteers at work, or I'm the mom at school who steps in when everybody's quiet when they ask for volunteers, or I'm the one who packs everybody and makes sure we have things for a trip because it's just expected. And so once we have some more how-tos around boundaries, I think it just adds even more space for us to be ourselves. So these aren't necessarily linear. I don't know if this is the model I'll stick to, but it was just something about like, we just keep going around, we clear out more shit when we are able to get more clear about who we are. And then maybe we need to set more boundaries. And then when we set more boundaries, we make more space for ourselves. And to me, life just keeps getting better. I call it embodied awakening because it just seems like on all levels that your decision making becomes more clear. It's like the veils between your true self and your actions, your brain manager are so much more together. They're like in the driver's seat together, as opposed to you've got to go down a few floors down the hall to the left because you've tucked away who you really are because of whatever your situation was. So it's exciting for me to I think it's a way to free people. And I think in this era of whatever's going on in the world, I'm just seeing people looking out there going, wait a minute, that's not what I want, or that doesn't fit for me. And turning more inward for this self-discovery, but then running into some glitches because they're not so sure who they are or how to do it. So this is my breakdown of how, or at least one of the steps. So, okay. So just taking a moment to take that in for a second and doing a body scan. And maybe your energy is showing you anything right now, just honor it. So maybe that means a stretch or a bigger breath or a sip of tea. Give yourself a moment. And if you can drop down into your heart, allow yourself for a moment to notice that even though you're on an individual journey, that this is happening in the world. I mean, I'm seeing it all around in different groups of people and places I wouldn't have expected it. Things are shaking up. And so just see if from your heart you can just feel that broader perspective that you're not alone in wanting to wake up and wanting to be more authentic and being done with being on puppet strings. And I think for a lot of us, there's this desire to be reaching out and finding your tribe, finding other people that are on this path. And especially in the last couple of years, I just hear this so much more. People are ready for it. And people are taking more risks to be their own self. So we're going to begin to set the intention. And I encourage you to just start broad for a moment. So thinking about maybe the intention is, I would like this journey to be about just showing me how I can grow or how I can make more space for myself, how I can let go of how I was programmed and even hear and feel who I am in there. All of us have inner wisdom, but there were layers that were put upon it. It makes me think of different costumes that we've put on. And sometimes there's more than one. So you're walking around in like 4 layers of Halloween costumes. And on the screen may be some of the roles that you have played that don't necessarily serve you. And I'm going to ask you a couple other prompts, and you may not relate to all of them. Maybe there's just one, or you have your own from this, but consider, like, what does my soul want me to know? What is my heart's desire? What wants to awaken within me? And then a little more specific to our goal tonight is what wants to transform in me? Or what am I tired of? And so if you're still not sure, maybe check the list on the screen, see if you can relate to any of those. And it doesn't even have to be the thing that you do the most often or the thing that causes you the most trouble. It's the one that's showing up right now, which is another practice in just listening, right? Feeling what's arising. So once you notice that thing, just begin to observe how it moves about, like what its costume looks like. And for now, I want you to pretend you don't know this person, right? This aspect of yourself. Literally try to put them, like, say if it's somebody who's always taking responsibility, maybe they have a checklist of things, they run around with a clipboard, or maybe they always take responsibility for everything, and so they look quite frantic. Maybe they're a know-it-all, and so maybe they have glasses that they wear and they look down upon people. Whatever it is, try to see it like as if it's a new neighbor or a new coworker, somebody you don't know. And while you watch, notice your own judgments or assessments. I say assessments when maybe they're a little more neutral, like, wow, that person's really busy, or they can't settle down until all the chores are done, or wow, it must be hard to be them. Now I'm starting to move into judgment, right? Or what a pain in the ass that person is, how annoying they are. Whatever comes, just notice that for now. If you had just met them. And then for now, because I think it was Bruce Lee who said, invite your enemies to tea. Like you really want to get to know this part. We're not going to transform it at all if you don't understand it, and not just from a head place, right? But if you don't feel it. And so I want you to imagine becoming that part of you as if that's all that exists. And for some of you, it'll be important to you to leave 5% or so, somebody who's noticing your surroundings and is monitoring what you're doing. And that's totally fine. Maybe you can only tolerate 50% of you to try this out because this part is so repulsive to you. And that's okay. Just do what you can. So close your eyes if it's helpful. Like feel being in its skin. How does it walk about? How does it hold itself? Is it, sassy? Is it leaning forward? Is it, pulling back? See if you can feel how its body moves. You may not even be able to hear like what it's saying, but hear the tone. Maybe it's really high pitched because all the energy is like bunched up in here. Or maybe it's very feeling less and it's very cold and monotone. because it avoids feelings. So you might hear it very explicitly, or it might just feel like a general feel, and that's okay. But notice what it would be like to go through life as only this part of self. And you might even hear like a motto, like life is hard, or you have to work all the time, or don't trust anyone, do everything yourself. Just kind of see what this part lives from. And as you're in that one's shoes, notice what it would say to this. I just want, I'm just trying to, what is it trying to accomplish? What is it hoping for in its behavior or in its thought patterns, in its energy merging, like sensing everybody? And I want that so that, or I think that's what that's going to get me is, and for those of you who've done this before, you know how it goes. Every time you come up with something, then you say again, so that I just want everything done and put away so that things are organized, so that I know where things are, so that the kids can't complain that they can't find stuff. It might keep going on, and you're going to keep letting it go until it comes back to you, so that I don't keep getting interrupted when I'm finally reading my book, so that I can feel calm, or I can feel some sense of order, like power and control over my life, or I can feel some freedom. So stay with that as long as you'd like. And if it's not clear in words, that's okay. Just feel whatever's there. For a lot of people, when they're just starting this, it'll be like a sensation starts to rise, but then by the time you go to put words to it, it's gone. Just let it go. Your brain's doing it. And now it's time to offer this part of self some kindness. And for those of you who know the web of light, it's just invite, ask for, like, universe, is there anything out there that can support this part of me? Maybe you don't have it in you. Like, I don't like this part of me. Is there anything that can be kind to it? Like an imaginary cat to sit on its lap, or a dog to adore it, or Mother Earth, or Mary, or an angel to hold it, or sit and listen to it. So you don't have to feel the whole web, although you could radiate them with that light if that works for you. But just notice, like, what is available? And you can ask your higher self, if you have it in you, to look upon this part with some kindness, some patience. And then, as opposed to the being on puppet strings, like feeling like you've got all these hooks in you and being pulled in all different directions, instead, I want you to imagine your highest and best self, the core of who you are, however you can relate to that, being the hand puppet, like taking over this part because you've merged with this part. Now I'm going to ask, instead of you letting it run the show, that the highest and best part of you take over for a moment. And you're going to imagine that you're taking it to the water. Let you be its solid center while you stay merged with it. take it to the water. And first, we're going to go to the ocean. And whether you have to be like up in a cruise ship because you don't do water like this, or if you can be down on a surfboard, or maybe you become a mermaid and you just dive right in, bring it to the water. Engage the water in the way you can. Maybe you snorkel or you float. And add whatever support you want or need to make this feel safe. Maybe there's a few other people looking out for you, or you have floaties on, or an air tank, whatever you need. Just experience the water for a moment. And now you're going to become the water. So you're going to imagine yourself just dispersing into molecules, because if you didn't have your skin to hold you together, just letting your molecules disperse into the water. And if you need to be like a jellyfish and hold them all together, that's okay. If you want to let them roam and run free, then do it that way. But become the water molecules. And notice as the water molecules, you get moved by the ocean. So that might be you're up in the waves and you're taking a ride, woohoo, or you're down lower in the current. Absorb the power, like the vitality of the ocean. And then hold space for your intention again. You don't have to remember all the exact words, but just hold space for, like, I'm open to being guided through this experience. I'm open to hearing a message or feeling something that helps me transform or evolve this part of me. And then just go right back into your experience of the water. And as in the picture here, the sunlight is going to help you evaporate now, to just lift you up. Just find yourself going up, 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 evaporating as a water molecule or a cluster of molecules. It's quite a long journey from the ocean all the way up to the clouds. So give yourself a moment to just feel what it feels like. Whether you cluster yourself all up or you stay many molecules, just feel yourself floating up as water vapor now. And notice where you land. Perhaps it's on a puffy cloud and it feels like a massage or a soft blanket. Or maybe you go even higher to that nurturing healing place in the upper world. Or you go so high you're with angels or helping spirits. Whatever your experience is, just notice. And in your own way, just from your heart, or if you hear the words, please help me evolve. And it's time to descend back now to land. And so you're just going to feel yourself drifting down because it's so cold up there that you've turned into a snowflake or many snowflakes. Those water molecules have transformed into crystals falling from the sky. It's a long journey down, so just notice what it feels like to be in the air, just drifting down. Perhaps there's some freedom to it, or maybe you add a parachute to it because it feels fast. You get to control it. Falling down now onto the mountain snow, joining a group of other snowflakes, ice crystals. And notice what that feels like to be among the others. Notice that in this form of water, there's not much movement, just kind of being the snow. And if you want it really quiet and you like to be wrapped tightly, maybe you like heavy blankets around you, maybe you go down some layers. Or if you want to be closer to the sunshine, to be absorbing that and stay up at the top. And sunshine is as sunshine does, so it begins to melt. The snowflake, the snow crystals, and eventually you become back into water, fluid water. And you seep down into the ground. So feel yourself sinking down into the earth. Perhaps you can even smell the soil or feel roots. And eventually that groundwater seeps out down the mountain, out as a creek. So feel your water molecules joining in with others, this time moving, playing, trickling, flowing. And trickling down until you reach the mountain lake, where you come out into that open as the water molecules joining others. You're going to hang here. Again, you can be down lower if you like it cool or near the earth, or you can stay up towards the surface to feel the sun. And earlier, you were asking yourself, I just want so that, so that, so that. And you might have come to a word like, so that I can have freedom, or that I can be cared for, or I can feel some power and control. I can have things my way, or I can feel some peace. So just notice if any of those things have been available on your journey so far here with the water. And if so, you can just kindly offer that to that vulnerable part of self, just as a way of saying, like, hey, I'm willing to show you that there's nothing wrong with what you're looking for, but the way you're doing it, I'm not so fond of, or the way you're doing it seems to cause us exhaustion. But showing it while you're calling that out, showing it that you're willing to help it find other ways, that you'll take it to that mountaintop or you'll take it to the clouds. And you don't have to do this whole exercise to do that. You could close your eyes and do it for 1 minute during your day. So just noticing so far as you float in the water or you swim around in the water, just holding space for that intention and what you might be able to offer that vulnerable part of yourself now. And taking a moment, when I think of doing this, I just feel this sense of magnificence. Like notice all the water molecules that are around you, like the purity, the elixir of life that's around you right now, that you've become part of. And just let yourself absorb that and honor that you're part of right now is the life force of all living things. And taking some of that life force, perhaps in the form of hydration, or you've absorbed minerals because you were in that soil and it came down into the lake. You're going to bring your molecules all back into your body now, kind of like a family reunion. It's all going to come back in, like ringing the triangle, like time to come home. Or some of you know the magnet up and down your spine. You turn up the magnet and they all come in, then you release it. And notice what it feels like to be back in your body. And allow those hydrated or mineralized, life forced molecules to know where to go. Like, know, maybe they want to go up to your brain and help your brain feel more clear. And they help wash out muck. Or maybe they go down to your limbs. They get into your organs, clean things up. Let that water go where it knows to go. And then when you're ready, in your own way, give thanks to the water for what it's offered you, even if it was just a brain break. Maybe it's as much as some insights or learnings or shift, but whatever you felt, give your thanks to the water. And even more so, if you want to channel it love and light or send it some blessings or say a prayer for it, we all rely on it pretty well. So in our own way, we can send some love and light back to the water. Just letting yourself rest here for a moment and just holding space for everything is part of your answer. And so while at the end of this, you might feel like journaling, but it also may be that it was more just seeds planted or some things clearing out, making space. When we give these parts of self a new experience, That's when we help it go, oh, you mean it's not like that anymore? So dissolution happens with illumination. We're allowing it to have a new experience. We're showing it what else can be now. And it helps loosen the grip of those old patterns. And that's what helps us transform. So a few more breaths, really filling the body with love and light. Maybe wiggling your toes and squeeze, releasing your body. Still listening for any signals from your body of where it wants to stretch or things it wants you to know. Different parts of self may have input for you right now. And noticing that this process will be on YouTube. You'll get the link in an email, and that you can come back to this. And the thing I love about YouTube is you can adjust the speed, or you could fast forward it, make it what you want. And if you feel like the little boundaries tune up would serve you, then the website is there and you can sign up to receive the notice that it's ready. There'll also be a coupon code with it. And then next week, we're doing fire, which will actually be fire more in the form of spirits like ancestral healing or from healers in the past. And they don't have to be your family. So thank you for coming.